afternoon of July 2010, I took my 10-year-old Samantha and my 6-year-old son David for our usual bushwalk along the well-used track that was used by the local families for at least the last 30 years. We've been in and out of that bush track, and nothing outstanding to mention had ever happened. But this particular day, we were on the last 200 metres of the track, which ended the closest to our house, and it's a day that I'll never forget. At one point, I had to bend down and do up my shoelace on my right shoe, so I stopped just in front of a large blue gum tree and placed my foot on one of the very large roots jutting out from under the dry dirt. As I was completing the knot, I felt a hand grab my right biceps and pull my arm backwards gently. I turned to look to see what my son was pulling me for, which I just assumed was to look at either an animal or a plant of some sort, to only find that it was not him. He was not there. I realised that I had not heard his feet moving or running from me in any direction, and I should have heard something, because the ground was very dry and there were lots of leaves and crisp bark on the ground. So I looked at the tree, then around it on either side to see if he was hiding. Eventually, I walked the full circumference of the tree, and I also scoped the surrounding bush. I stepped back onto the path and found that David was some 30 metres ahead of me down the track, and he was bent over, tugging on a large strip of bark on a log, and Samantha, well, she was just still walking. She was about 15 minutes ahead of me, between the two of us. Now, whilst I had my back to that tree, I had the most overwhelming feeling that I was being watched, so much so that the hairs on the back of my neck stood right up, which was accompanied by this intense heat and an impression of a headache beginning to rise from the back of my head. And also I had a feeling that somebody was trying to push me over. So I was confused, and I looked back again at the tree to see what the hell was going on, as I knew there was nobody else on this bush track. I didn't bother to call my kids, because I knew it was either one of them that had pulled my arm, as they were way too far down the track to have done it, to cover the distance. So, feeling a little bit confused, and in my true form, jokingly said, "Tree, is that you pulling my arm?" I looked the thing up and down, and again throughout the whole surrounding bush. And for a brief moment I thought I saw something. And I looked again, and I saw an outline of a figure, albeit slightly translucent, standing 8 meters away from me. It was approximately 5 foot tall in height. The only reason why I saw it was because it was in the middle of transferring its weight from one foot to the other, to the right, from behind a young fern tree, to get a better look at me. I could see that it had 2 legs, 2 arms, a torso, and a head. It was all in proportion, but the thing about it was it had a slight shimmering, wavy effect, kind of similar to Star Trek cloaking devices that the ships have. Now, it looked at me, and I looked at it for approximately 10 seconds, and let me tell you, it was 10 seconds too long as far as I was concerned. Now, as we're looking at each other lovingly, I see one of its arms start to raise up, and it brushes aside one of the fern tree branches, which are very light. It's either wanting to get a better look at me or to step forward. And at this stage, my heart rate increases tenfold. It's thumping in my ears. My heart feels like it's going to fly out of my mouth. All I can think of was, "Woman, move now, move your legs, let's go." Anyway, I stumble over one of the tree roots onto the footpath. I start running back to my children, and I'm shouting out to them, "Samantha, David, hurry, let's go. Why don't we have a running race back to the house?" And for the first time, my kids cooperated. Once we neared the end of the bush track, I decided to look over my right shoulder just one more time. And when I did, I could just vaguely see a haze around about 80 metres back. It nearly looked like a heat haze, but I knew it wasn't. So I spun around and grabbed my children's hands. And I said, come on kids, let's get in and have that ice cream that we talked about before. Now that was in July 2010. And I'm telling you this story. It is July, now 2016, and we have not been back.